All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling something that so many of us do, but honestly, not a lot of teams do it well. I'm talking about the post mortem. We're going to figure out how to take this meeting that everyone kind of dreads and turn it into a powerhouse for getting better, making sure that the lessons you learn today actually become the wins of tomorrow. So let's just kick things off with a question that I'm guessing is going to hit a little close to home for a lot of you. You wrap up a huge project, right? You have the meeting, you talk about what went wrong, and then boom, 6 months later, you are staring down the very same problems. It's so frustrating. It feels like you're just stuck on a hamster wheel. And here's the thing, the reason why is actually pretty simple. We think we can rely on our collective memory to dodge those same mistakes. But you know what? Memory is flimsy. It fades, people leave the team. What we really need isn't to just remember better. No way. We need a solid, repeatable process, something that captures what we learned and actually bakes it into the way we work. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about how to break that mistake cycle for good. Then, we'll walk through the 3 key phases, getting that honest look back, finding the real why behind it all, and then turning those insights into action. And finally, and this part's huge, we'll cover how to make all this learning actually stick around. All right, section 1. This is all about reframing the problem. We're talking about moving away from that haven't we done this before feeling and shifting into a real system for deliberate progress. This is where we lay the groundwork. So let's be super clear about what we're talking about here. A lessons learned session, a post-mortem, it's not just another meeting to vent. It's not a complaint session. The best way to think about it? It's like reviewing the game tape after a big match. It's a structured, strategic tool with one single goal, to get better next time. Okay, on to phase 1. This is all about building a solid foundation. Because before you can learn a single thing, you have to get a really clear, really honest shared view of what happened. This is where we capture the reality of the project, not just the fuzzy memories. And you have to start by getting specific. Before anyone even starts talking about the project, you've got to define the playing field. What's the goal of this conversation? What's the exact project and the specific time frame we're looking at? This sounds so simple, but it is so crucial. It's what stops the whole thing from turning into this big rambling complaint fest where nothing gets solved. Now, this table looks pretty basic, right? But it is way more powerful than it seems. The genius is in its structure. It forces you to have a balanced conversation. You're not just harping on what went wrong. You're also calling out what worked, what totally surprised you, and this is key, the specific decisions that really moved the needle on the results. Okay, so you've written down what happened. That's a great start. Seriously. But it's only half the story. The real magic, the part that actually leads to those big breakthrough improvements, that happens in phase 2. This is where we stop looking at the symptoms and start digging for the root causes. It's all about finding that deeper why. And this really gets to the heart of it. A good team, yeah, they know what happened. They can tell you, we missed the deadline. But a great team knows why. They can say, we missed the deadline because our initial plan didn't account for the new API integration, which created a 3-week bottleneck. You see the difference? One is just an observation. The other is a diagnosis you can actually do something about. So how do you get to that diagnosis? Well, you have to look at the problem from all sides, like looking at a diamond from different angles. Were our big picture strategic assumptions even right? Did our day-to-day processes help us or trip us up? What did each department learn? How did we work together as a team? And, so important, what did the outside world, our customers, the market, try to teach us? You need all of these perspectives to see the full picture. All right, now we're at what is, hands down, the most critical part of this whole thing. Turning all that great insight into actual, real-world action. Because let's be honest, an insight that just sits in a document, it's basically useless trivia. This is where we actually start building a better future. And the goal here is to get way beyond these vague promises like, oh, we'll do better next time. No, we need specific, measurable targets. So the action isn't just, let's improve our marketing. It's, let's get our customer acquisition cost down from $120 to a new target of $95. Now that is something you can actually track and achieve. And look, to make sure all these hard-won lessons don't just disappear into thin air, you have to weave them into the very DNA of your team. That means someone has to own these findings. They have to be the champion. You've got to share them out in workshops and trainings. And here's the kicker. You have to actually update your official playbooks and procedures. The new way has to become the official way. A truly great postmortem always ends with an action plan that looks just like this. Every single takeaway is turned into a specific task with a person's name next to it and a deadline. This isn't just a list of nice ideas. It is a concrete commitment to change. Honestly, this slide right here, this is what separates the teams that just talk about learning from the teams that actually win. So you did it. You ran an amazing postmortem. You've got your insights, you've got an action plan. But now what? How do you make sure this becomes a core part of your culture, a real habit, instead of just a thing you do when a project goes completely off the rails? Well, when you boil it all down, it comes back to asking this one powerful question over and over again. This isn't a question you ask just once at the end of a project. It should be like a constant hum in the background for the team. How are we turning what we're learning every single day into strategies that actually make us better? That is the mindset that fuels a true learning organization. And really, this is the main thing I want you to take away from our explainer today. The point of all this, the goal of a postmortem, it isn't to have a perfect project. Come on, that's impossible. The real goal is to build a team that never, ever stops getting better. A team that sees every single outcome, good, bad, whatever, as a chance to learn, to adapt, and to get stronger for whatever is coming next. Because that is the real engine of success.